The moment didn't arrive with fireworks. There was no roaring arena, no flashing lights, no countdown clock screaming into the night. Just a quiet room, a list of names, and a decision that would ripple through the entire WNBA. And at the center of it all, one name, Bridget Carleton, selected #1, taken by a brand new franchise trying to build an identity from nothing, the Portland Fire. A team that didn't just want talent, they wanted culture, they wanted toughness. They wanted someone who understood what it meant to earn everything the hard way. And in that quiet moment, the Minnesota Lynx lost more than just a player. They lost a piece of their system. Because Bridget Carleton isn't the loudest name in the league. She's not the headline grabber, not the viral highlight machine. But if you understand basketball, really understand it, you know exactly why she was taken first. You don't build a franchise on noise, you build it on trust. And Carleton, she's the kind of player coaches trust with everything. From the very beginning, her journey was never about hype. It was about consistency, about showing up, doing the work, and slowly carving out a place in one of the most competitive leagues in the world. She wasn't handed stardom. She earned minutes. She earned respect. She earned a reputation that quietly spread across locker rooms and front offices. So when the Portland Fire sat down to make their first ever pick, they weren't just asking who's the best player available. They were asking something deeper. Who do we want to become? And somehow, the answer led them straight to Carleton. Because expansion teams don't get second chances. Your first pick sets the tone. It defines your culture. It sends a message not just to fans, but to every player watching. And what Portland just said was loud. They didn't chase flash. They chose foundation. Carleton brings defense. She brings discipline. She brings that rare ability to do the things that don't show up on highlight reels, but win games over time. And maybe most importantly, she brings stability. In a league where stars often dominate headlines, there's something incredibly powerful about a player who understands her role and elevates everyone around her. That's what made her so valuable to Minnesota, and that's exactly why losing her hurts. Because the Lynx weren't just losing a rotation player, they were losing a connector, someone who fits seamlessly into systems, someone who understands spacing, timing, defensive rotations, the small details that separate good teams from great ones. And now, she's gone, taken by a franchise that's betting its future on her presence. Think about that for a second. An entire team's identity beginning with Bridget Carleton. That's not an accident. That's a statement. And it raises a bigger question about how expansion drafts really work. Because on the surface, they look simple. Teams protect certain players, others are left exposed, and a new franchise selects from what's available. But underneath that structure, there's strategy, there's risk, there's sacrifice. The Lynx didn't want to lose Carleton. No team ever wants to lose a player like that. But expansion drafts force impossible choices. You can't protect everyone. And sometimes the players you lose aren't the ones fans talk about the most. They're the ones you feel the most when they're gone. That's exactly what just happened here. Because Carleton represents something deeper than stats. She represents reliability. She represents effort. She represents a kind of basketball intelligence that doesn't fade under pressure. And for a new team like Portland, those traits are gold. Because expansion teams don't start with chemistry. They don't start with identity. They don't start with leadership. They have to build all of that from scratch. And that's where Carleton changes everything. She becomes a reference point, a standard, a player other teammates can look at and understand what's expected. That's something you can't teach overnight. That's something you can't fake. And that's why she went first. Not because she's the most famous, but because she might be the most important. Now, imagine being in that Portland locker room. A brand new environment, new faces, new expectations, no history. And walking in is Bridget Carleton, a player who knows how to win within a system, a player who understands professionalism, a player who doesn't need the spotlight but thrives in the responsibility. That kind of presence matters more than people realize, because culture isn't built through speeches. It's built through habits, through daily effort, through players who show others how it's done. And Carleton, she's exactly that kind of player. Meanwhile, back in Minnesota, there's a gap. Not one that shows up immediately in headlines, but one that will be felt. Because every team has players who glue everything together, and when they're gone, things shift. Rotations change, defensive schemes adjust, chemistry evolves, and sometimes you don't realize how important someone was until they're no longer there. That's the reality the Lynx now face, and it's the opportunity Portland just gained. But this story isn't just about one player. It's about what expansion means for the WNBA. Because every new team changes the league. It creates opportunities, it reshapes rosters, it forces teams to make difficult choices, and it gives players new chances to step into bigger roles. For Carleton, this isn't just a move, it's a transformation. From a key role player to a foundational piece, from supporting system to helping create one. That's a different kind of pressure, a different kind of spotlight, and it will test everything she's built so far. But if there's one thing her career has shown, it's that she doesn't shy away from challenges. She adapts, she evolves, she delivers, and now she'll be asked to do it on a bigger stage than ever before. The Portland Fire didn't just draft a player, they drafted an identity. They drafted a mindset. They drafted someone who understands that winning isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, disciplined, and relentless. And that's exactly how this moment feels. Quiet, but powerful. Because years from now, when people look back at this expansion draft, they won't just remember who was picked. They'll remember what it meant. They'll remember the decision to build from the ground up, not with noise, but with substance. And it all started with Bridget Carleton, a name that may not have dominated headlines before, but one that just became the foundation of something entirely new. And maybe that's the most interesting part of all, because sometimes the biggest stories in sports don't begin with superstars. They begin with choices, with vision, with belief. Portland believed. Now the rest of the league is watching to see if this quiet decision becomes something much louder over time. Watching to see if Carleton can carry more responsibility, watching to see if a new franchise can turn discipline into success. Because in the WNBA, nothing stays quiet forever. In this story, it's just getting started. If you enjoyed this deep story breakdown, make sure to like, comment your thoughts on this move, and subscribe for more real sports stories like this.